please. Okay, guys. Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up? Hold on just a second. I got to make sure that this is on live on Facebook. Hold on one second. Okay. Okay. Yay. All right. What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to Discovering Nicole. That would be me, your girl, Nicole. Today we're having a guest speaker on, Breanna from the Blacklist podcast. She's going to come on and share her story of recovery with us. So we're going to be talking all about the process that she took to get sober, all the things. But before we get into having Breanna on, would you guys please do me a solid and help me share this video out to everywhere that we can share it out to? If you're watching on Facebook, hey, Amy, what's up, girl? If you're watching on Facebook, help me by sharing this video in Facebook groups that are recovery groups. I've got Paco, my co-host, right there. And then I have my second co-host, Rocky. And he is being so ornery today. As you can see, he's looking at all the things. Mommy, what are we doing? He wants to do all the things and be ornery while I'm trying to do my little show here. So don't mind him, because he will be right beside me on the floor in his little bed, hopefully acting right and not squealing like a little banshee. Right, Rocky? Okay. So I'm going to do all the things, and I would appreciate it if you guys would do all the things as well and help me share this video out. So for those of you guys that are new to my channel and to my Facebook account, my name is Nicole Pludre. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I used drugs for like 16 years of my life. I was addicted to multiple substances: methamphetamine, cocaine, opioids, and Xanax. And I basically ruined my life with drugs. And in 2015, I fought for custody back of my son, and that's when I got sober, and I started my social media journey a couple of years after that and started sharing my story here online. And so I like to have other people on to share their stories, just to show people like different pathways of recovery, just to show people that, we all recover differently, and there's no like right or wrong way to recover. I'm a huge advocate for medication assisted treatment. It's actually how I got sober, was by using Suboxone. It saved my life. And so, good boy, Rocky, lay down. I like to share, my experience and my journey with other people. But we're just going to sit here and chill out until my girl comes, until Breanna gets here. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or just want to chit chat with each other, you can in the comment section. Help me share this video over on Facebook. That's what I really need y'all to do, is help me share this video. In fact, while you guys are hanging out, I'm going to just go and share this. So hold on. Cool. All right. I shared it. Where's my baby at? So yeah, I'm just waiting on Breanna to get here, you guys, and then we will have her. Oh, she's here. Good. Hey, Breanna, I see you back there, girl. I'm about to bring you on. Hold on just 1 second. She's been there the whole time. Okay, let me make sure the Savage Rocky is in his spot, because if his little ass ain't being good, then I'm going to have to be good, Rocky. Lay down in your spot. Okay, here we go. Yay. Hey, girl. Oh, hold on a second. Let me put my earphones in because can you hear me?
I was muted.
Oh, I'm
Jared
so
told me
glad
too.
that.
So
How are
guess what
you
I found
doing?
out? I'm good. How are you?
Good. What did you find out?
You can stream from StreamYard onto your TikTok if you have 25,000 followers.
Oh, really? Do you
Yep.
know how I could do that right now? You want to try? Should
Um,
I?
I mean, you can try. I just went to Google last night and it said that with 25,000 followers, there's something custom in StreamYard or in TikTok where you can stream to your. Oh, she left. Okay. I don't know if I'm still.
You're live on.
She's gone.
You're live.
I'm here though.
Oh,
My bad. My bad. I disappeared for a second. I'm back. Okay.
Oh, she
Well, thank-
left.
I wish I knew that, but that's okay.
Well, now you know for the
Because I
future, though. Like, I wasn't going to not tell you.
Yeah, I went over to TikTok and I shared it and I let everybody know on TikTok that we were going to be live here on Facebook and on YouTube, so they would come
Yeah.
over. So hopefully everybody will come over and from my TikTok account. But I just want to
That's something
say
you could
thank
play
you
around with and stuff. Oh,
so
absolutely. Thank
much
you.
for being willing to come on and share your story. It means so much to me. Like I love hearing people's stories. It like inspires me, you know?
Yeah.
So the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to let you take the reins. What I would like you to do is share with us who you are and then take us into how you started like getting into drugs in the first place. Like what was your childhood like and all that. And if I have any questions, I'll just kind of like ask you as you're talking and stuff like that.
Okay. Let me put this cigarette out. Apologies again for last night. We had to
Oh, what
take care
happened
of.
last night?
So I missed my appointment last month with my mental health doctor,
Uh-huh.
and they were closed. They opened yesterday, so I called. I'm like, my appointment's next Wednesday with her. So I had reached out just to even get a week's worth of my medicine. She said no, not giving
Oh,
you
wow.
anything. So we went to the emergency room, and you know how wonderful it felt to go to the emergency room and have a doctor. I was in and out in 20 minutes. I didn't even go. I went into the triage room. That was it. But to like have the doctor tell me, we looked through your history here. We see nothing funny. We will prescribe you your meds. You know, she checked
Oh,
me
is
over
it
head
your
to toe, but
anxiety
that's all.
meds?
Yeah, my antidepressant and my mood stabilizer.
And you like have to have that. If you don't take it, then you like feel not good. It's not a good
Yep,
feeling.
yep. So
Oh
that's why
gosh,
we took care of it last night. I've been on
how
them
long have you been with
for
your doctor? Have you been with your
uh,
doctor for a long time?
almost a year.
Yeah, that's
The
pretty
end of
messed
this
up.
month will be a year. And that's the first appointment I've ever missed.
See, if I ever have a situation like that here where I'm at with my doctor, like even with my Suboxone girl, like they'll call in like a 3-day prescription and
That's
front
what I
me.
was hoping, and that's all I needed.
Yeah,
Needed 6 days of my one med and 3 days of my other med just to get me through to my appointment. And she
yeah.
said no. So we went to the emergency room and got that all situated.
Well, I'm glad you're
So
okay now. So
thank
tell
you.
me tell us about how it was for you as a little girl growing up. Like, tell me about your childhood.
All right. So I'm Breanna. I'm 34 now. I grew up when I was born. I lived in not such a great area. Um, but I had a normal childhood. You know, we went camping, we'd ride garbage can lids down the side of the road when it rained. Like I had a nice childhood. My parents split up when I was 8. Um, my dad was a single dad with 3 kids. Um, he had to work all the time. So it was up to my older sister to watch me and my older brother. And that's when I was first introduced to alcohol and weed. Um, it didn't become a problem at that point, but seeing that it was accepted and like they thought it was funny, like these older kids thought it was funny to give me, shots of aftershock
Oh,
and to hand their blunts to me, like aftershock of all things. Like they were handing me blunts and stuff like that. But um, it didn't take long. My mom got custody of me, and I look back at it now, and it was for the better that my parents split up and the way the opportunities we were given, but when I was in it, I fucking hated it.
Oh
Absolutely hated
yeah,
it.
for
You know,
sure.
my parents split up, my mom jumped to somebody else right away, like, moved into somebody else's house, like, I hated it. But we grew up in the woods, you know, we had a nice house, we had cars, we went on vacations, you know, we had everything. We had a backyard pool, all the parties, you know, family gatherings were held at our house and stuff like that, like, it was nice, but I hated it, so I rebelled all the time. My parents were strict, you know, I was 14, 15 years old sneaking out of the house, going to the bars, you know, 14 years old
Damn. How were
14
you
years
getting
old,
into the bar at 14 or 15? Did you have a
and
fake ID made?
no, I knew older people, and I wasn't
Back
ID
then,
ticketed.
I
It
feel
was a
like, because
lot
I know,
easier.
yes, because I was underage going to the club as well. And if you had like an older guy that liked you or the bouncer knew so and so, they would let you in back then. You know what I mean?
Mhm, and it was a lot more common back then too to have, like, bars and clubs where you could be 18 or over to get into. You know,
Yeah.
you just had to be 21 to drink, so but 14, I was 14 years old, and I look at some of these little, like, 14-year-old kids, and I'm like, "How the hell?" Like, I would never let somebody that looks like that into a bar, but I was, you know, going to
I
school,
feel like,
sneaking in.
how old are you?
I'm 34.
Okay, so I'm 41. I feel like I'm a little bit older than you, but not much. I feel like back then, like so much was accepted uh than
Mhm.
there is now. Like now there's so much more emphasis on like, you know, minor safety and protecting children from, being in adult situations and being
Yeah,
with adults that they don't need to be in, be
yeah.
around. Back then though, like, and I'm sure you were like I was, we were lying to our parents and saying we were going to, oh, I'm going to Susie's house to stay the night, and really we were going to like a party or something, you
Well,
know.
see, that's the thing, I wasn't allowed to go to anybody's house.
So they were
So
so strict that you were like sneaking out because they were pushing you that way because they were trying to hold you down.
mhm.
Yeah, that sucks. I was
I
very
was able to,
fortunate.
like, ride my bike during the day, like, up to the little cul-de-sac that was up the street, you know, knew a couple people up there, my parents knew their parents, you know, we'd go up there and hang out, but, you know, I think it's changed just because of the awareness, you know, social media is everywhere, you know, stuff would happen in, like, little towns and counties, and it was only broadcasted on the local news station.
Right.
Now it can reach the whole world, you know, and it's that awareness was there back then, but I don't think it was as the fear behind it wasn't really there.
Yeah,
Like,
it
people
was
were
not on
aware,
such
just
a
there was
great
no fear
scale
behind it.
either.
Yeah.
Like now, if you do something that's messed up, your face is going to be plastered all over social media. Everybody's going to know, like within
I've had
seconds.
my I've had my face plastered in neighborhoods before.
Okay, so you're sneaking out. Your
Yep.
parents, or did your parents catch you?
No. Oh, I did get caught once. We'll get to that though, but, like, I was smart. I had the brains, you know, like, my stepfather would be up in the morning. I had an alarm clock to wake me up for school. I set the alarm clock to my music on high blast, and no matter what time I got home, I waited for that alarm clock to start going off before I climbed in that window. In case I knocked anything over or made any noises, nobody's gonna hear it, they're gonna think I'm waking up,
Right.
you know? So I just waited. Um, I left my flip-flops outside one night, and that's how I got caught.
Oh shit.
The
So
silliest, stupidest little thing. I left my flip-flops and my stepfather was outside mowing at, like, 7 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, what are these?" And I
and
was
so
like, "Oh, I
that's how
left
they
them out."
knew.
Yeah, yeah.
What did they do to you when they caught you?
Nothing. They put, sensors on my windows,
Oh no.
like those little
Now,
dingies, those little ding things, you know, you just
yeah.
slip something in that, you know, so the sensor is going back to itself and it doesn't make noise. That's all I did.
So you figured out a way around that.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
at this point in your life, had you started like dabbling with drugs or alcohol, or were you just
Oh,
trying to like party and
I
stuff?
was I was drinking constantly, I was smoking weed, I had never at this point in my life, nothing harder than weed. No. Once I hit 16, I ran away, you know, because life was so horrible in my gorgeous house with anything and everything I wanted. Um, it was so horrendous. Um, I ran away, started doing, taking acid, ecstasy, doing coke, like all within a week. Um, that's when my face became plastered because my mom knew the area that I was in. She hung my face up on the telephone poles. It was in the local like convenience stores, the grocery stores, and I found out because I went to the store one day to get my friend's son some milk, and I seen my picture on the counter at the grocery store as a missing
Like as a
person.
missing child?
Yeah.
What
And
happened
that's
after?
when
What did you do? Did you go and call your mom and let her know you were okay?
no, no. I just hid better. I stayed away from the windows, and they were more mindful of the people that they allowed in the house and stuff like that because, now there's more there was little kids in the house.
Yeah. Looking back on
So,
it, you realize that like you had a great life. In your mind though, being a young kid, your parents had separated and you were probably going through a lot of like emotions that you didn't really know how to handle at that time. Like
yeah.
losing a parent to like when your parents divorced, like I've never experienced that. But I can imagine that it uproots all the stability that you were so used to having, you know?
Mhm.
So, do you
Yep.
think there was something different that your parents could have done maybe to help you so that way you didn't act out?
Um, I don't think my parents, more of my dad, which I'm still working on, and I've kind of accepted him for who he is and not really wanted things to change. But my dad up and disappeared when I moved in with my mom. Within like a month, he was gone. No contact, no nothing. My mom painted this horrible picture of him. My dad came back around a couple years after my parents divorced. I went and spent 2 weeks with him down in Connecticut. Found out that he had a wife and had a kid, and he
Damn.
was very involved in their life, and that hurt. Like I didn't understand what my mom was doing to him to keep him away, and I thought it that way when I was younger, but now that I'm older, he's still not really involved in my life. So it's like if I knew back then that it wasn't my fault he wasn't around, it would have been a lot easier.
Yeah.
I mean, I was grateful for my stepfather. He taught me about cars. I went to auctions with him. He was older. I did like old people things with him.
Yeah.
He was an old school Italian. We went to auctions. We'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning on the weekends and go to auctions and stuff like that. And, you know, I'm grateful today for what I had. But if I was shown in the right way to be more grateful, like instead of just being told to be grateful, like,
Yeah.
like examples, like now I use this on my kids now too. Instead of it, it's I told you so. No, I will explain stuff to you because I don't want them to end up with the same traumas that I have. And it's like I have a daughter that her father's not in her life. She has, my ex, who she calls her stepfather. He's been involved in her life for over 8 years, and he still is, even though we're not together. And I won't take that from her. She still does ask about her father, and I explain to her, it's not you, it's him.
Yeah.
He has things going on in his life. He does love you, but look at all this love that you do have, and it's just, yeah, things were presented to me differently back then. I don't know. Maybe I would have understood it. Maybe I wouldn't have, because
Yeah.
I'm learning now I had a lot of untreated mental illnesses. I was diagnosed with ODD and PTSD and, anxiety and depression. And, I
Will
seen a
you tell
psycho
everybody what ODD is? I know what
ODD.
it is, but explain to us.
Okay. And if I don't explain it to the best of, I'll explain it to the best of my ability, but ODD is oppositional defiance disorder.
Okay.
You have a problem with authority. I explain it as the terrible twos,
I
but
feel
you
like
have
that's
it
probably a
forever.
direct result of you having your family separated and then realizing that your dad was like had a whole nother family basically and making you feel like you had been replaced,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
I
And I
just, like I left my dad's and went to my mom's because my mom told me, come move with me. I will give you this amazing life. And I listened to my mom. I locked myself out on the balcony and I told my dad, if my mom's not here in a half an hour to pick me up, I'm jumping off the balcony. And my mom was there in 20 minutes. And then I left my dad and I didn't see him again for years. So in the back of my mind, like I listened to her, but I felt like it made my life worse. So why am
Yeah.
I going to listen to anything that anybody tells me? Because the last time I listened to somebody, it fucked me up, and it's something a lot of kids deal with. They say that, it's only that you grow out of it in your teenage years, but I don't believe that. I really don't believe that you grow out of ODD. I think
When were you
it presents itself.
when were you diagnosed like with everything that you had to do with mental health, and were you able to get treatment for it when you were younger, or did you not get treatment until you were older?
So after I had ran away, I came back for a day and then I ran away again.
You're a runner, girl, a track
Yeah.
star.
Yeah. I run, and that's one thing that I've learned in recovery, to stop running. To stop running. And I've been stationary for almost 4 years and it feels amazing. But there is still something in the back of my mind like, okay, it's time for a change. Like, let's go. But there's
Yeah.
no reason to leave the life that I have. I have an amazing job. I have a home. I have a wonderful boyfriend. Like, there's nothing to run from, but I want to, you know?
It's
And
exciting.
yeah,
It's like an itch sometimes that I feel like I have that sometimes feeling too sometimes. And then I have to like calm myself down and I realize like, girl, people, you have stability, you have, like you said, a job, people who love us and care about us, and
right.
that makes me realize that I don't need to go scratch the itch, you
Yeah.
know.
I just travel. Jared's got a motorcycle. We go on the motorcycle. We go places. I live near Buffalo. We go see Niagara Falls, go to New York City, like stuff like that. Like that helps me.
Yeah,
And it took a
that's really
while.
cool.
It took a while to appreciate being able to do that stuff. Like I have so many gorgeous state parks around me, and beautiful things to see that are an escape, but they're still local to me. I'm not fucking rooting up my life and moving somewhere else. It's just little escapes, and those are wonderful to have. Those are great techniques to have as an adult to, ground yourself and regroup your life. And, if you're struggling with anything, to me, I feel like the best advice I could give to somebody that's struggling in the moment, take your socks off and go put them in the grass.
Ground yourself.
Yes. Run your toes through the grass, whether it's raining outside or anything. My favorite thing when it's raining is to lay down on the ground and look up at the rain.
I'll have to try that. I've never done that outside in the rain before, but I
It'll
do believe
it'll
in
bug you
grounding.
for a little bit because the raindrops dropping in your eyes, but then you get used to it, and it's like it's something that nobody else sees. You literally can see the raindrops coming out of the sky. And it's nice. It's really nice. They replaced the lights outside of my house, so I can't do it outside here anymore, but I miss it.
When did you start? I say so. When did you get treatment for your mental health before you started using drugs and alcohol, or did you start using drugs and alcohol and not be able to get treatment
So
and
I
for it
was
for a
drinking
while?
and smoking weed and, blowing lines and, doing ecstasy and stuff like that. When I had ran away the second time, I got arrested. I went where I was living. It was 16 and over to go to county jail. So
Oh
I ended
wow.
up in county jail at 16. I lived in a different county that I got arrested in. So from county jail, I went to a juvie. And then when I got released, part of the judge's stipulations of me getting released and staying released is that I had to go see the psychotherapist. Um, but because I was underage, they could not force me to take meds. My mom doesn't understand mental health problems. She still doesn't. So I told them, no, I want to learn coping mechanisms.
Uh-huh.
Because from a young age, I didn't want to rely on a substance for the rest of my life to keep me functioning every day, which
Uh-huh.
is weird, ending up in addiction, but I wanted to learn coping mechanisms. And then, um, about a year after I had started it, I ran away again. Moved in with my aunt, met somebody, um, and moved to California.
How old were you?
17.
Girl, I wouldn't have known what to do that far away from my mom and dad at 17 years old. Okay, I was gangster and
I'm always
everything,
a
but not
planner.
that gangster.
Somebody that I worked with, her car had broken down like 2 days before I was picking up and bringing her to work. Um, One day after work, I was like, hey, you want to drop me off at the airport and take my car? She's like, where do you want me to park it? I'm like, no, you can have it. Like, you can have it. There's an ounce of weed and like a gram of coke in the glove compartment. You can have that too. Like, I can't take it on the plane with me, so have it. And I gave her my car and I moved to California with a guy I just
Okay,
met.
so what did you do in California?
I converted to
What?
Islam. I got married. I worked. I got harder into drugs. Because you got the Mexicans jumping off the buses and working.
Uh-huh.
I found jobs where the owners were dealers, so there was a constant supply of cocaine at the business. I
Would
had to
you
hide
say
it from.
cocaine was one of your main drugs of choice? Well, if
Um,
you had to choose, what were your drugs of choice? I have multiple, so I always have to,
yeah.
So how would you like
So like,
from
there's
the favorite to the least favorite
now or at this point in my life.
at that point in your life?
At that point in my life, cocaine was I don't know. I feel like cocaine, weed, and alcohol were all level.
Okay.
I always had a bag of cocaine in my bra. I always had a blunt, and I always had a bottle or some little nips on me.
And you
I
were
was
snorting
constantly,
cocaine, not smoking
yes,
it.
no, just snorting it. I've never smoked anything except for weed.
Whenever I used cocaine, it got out of control really quickly for me because it was so expensive.
Yeah.
And I couldn't make enough money to keep up with my habit. Did
See,
you
that was the
find
problem. No, no, I worked for the people
you
that were
had the
selling it.
dealers
Yeah.
you worked with them?
Yep.
And
They were
so,
doing it. Other people we worked with it. There was a plate out in the office. If you wanted some, you just went and grabbed some to keep you going.
oh God, I would have been thriving at that job.
It was. I was. I was. I always had money. I was fucking buying bottles of fucking 2, 3 bottles of hard liquor, 2 bottles of wine every day, going home, getting sloshed, like hiding
What
it from
prompted
my
you
husband.
to what prompted you to convert over to another to Islam? Was it because you
Hmm.
were dating somebody that was in that religion
Yep. I
and they
worked
were older than you, weren't they?
um by a couple months.
Oh, okay. I thought this was like an older guy that talked you into going to
No.
California.
No, and the messed up part is he didn't know I was moving to California. I made
So you
plans with
just
his
showed up and you're like,
I
"Hey,
made
babe."
I made plans with his uncle to surprise him for his birthday, and then my plan was not to leave, and they were fine with it.
So
So,
how did it go? What made you? How did you get away from California? And how did your addiction transition to other substances? Like, because I know you did opioids.
yeah. So, obviously, he didn't know I was using coke, so I was hiding it. Um, we went to go fool around one day, and the bags came out of my bra, and that's when the physical abuse started,
Oh man.
and it never stopped. I found out I was pregnant, and his family, just we weren't having the baby, and his family wouldn't be accepting of us not having a baby. So we went to the bus station one day and bought 2 one-way tickets back here, back to New York. It took us a while because I got arrested in Salt Lake City, Utah. So it took us a little bit to get back, but we made it back. And I found out that he was pushing me because he was going to get married in his country, which still it had a huge effect on me at that point. And I think that's why things spiraled the way they did, because when I moved back to New York, I got really heavy. Like, I was sleeping with the coke dealer. I was sleeping with the weed dealer, behind their wife's back. I was getting it all essentially for free.
Yeah.
We were the group of us, some of us weren't of age, some of us were of age. We had adults around us. We were like little band groupies because the one lady dated somebody in a band and we'd follow them all around New York State. Um, there was pills. Dollar Tree used to sell these like little coin purses, I called them, and they were little socks with like a metal clasp on the top.
Yes.
So I had 2 of them. If you take the pills in this sock, don't take the pills in this sock. What the fuck they were, I don't know. They're a bunch of different pills. I didn't listen. I would take both of them and get fucked up every day. Like I really spiraled when I moved back to New York, and it just kept going. I did not, had my kids. Every single pregnancy that I've had, I have 3 kids. I did not use drugs while I was pregnant, so I didn't think it was a problem.
How did you do that? Like, I really want to talk about this. So I really want to stop for a second and talk
No clue.
about like how, first of all, I can totally relate to having sex with all the guys to get free drugs. Like I did the same thing. Like a
Well,
lot of
see, here's the
people,
thing. Some of it wasn't even sex. One of them had a foot fetish.
yeah,
I
or
just
sitting
let him
on
rub my feet. You want to
like
rub some lotion
Ty,
on my feet and I'm going to get some Coke? Okay, go ahead, rub some lotion on my feet. Thank you.
or like
You
Ty who
know?
said she would sit on cakes for old men.
Yeah, like,
You know what I mean? Like,
it wasn't to them, it was sexual, but it wasn't always actual sex,
yeah, yeah.
you know?
But a lot of people will ask me, they'll say, "Oh, did you prostitute?" And I say, "Well, no, not on the corner, not on the street, but like if I was dating a guy or if I was getting drugs from a guy and I didn't have money and he was down, I would trade my services, whatever he wanted me to do basically
Hmm.
for, drugs." And so many of us women, do that because it's like you get to a point sometimes where you're just like extra desperate. And if I do have money and I don't want to use it and I can save the money, then I'm going to do that, and get
Yeah,
get what I need and be done and over with it. When I'm in that drug haze, I don't feel as guilty or bad about what I'm doing. After the fact, I'm like, why did I do that? That guy is so disgusting,
yeah,
blah, 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 blah,
yep.
blah, you know? But during it, it's like you just block it out. And so,
Hmm.
can you relate to that? Were you the same way?
Yeah, like becoming numb to things, which is really hard to unlearn too, is becoming numb in situations. But yeah,
Very much.
I hung out with older people. They were getting me into the bars, they were doing this, they were doing that. So, you know, I would make
How
it
were
known
you able to
sometimes.
stop? How were you able to stop using drugs while you were pregnant? Like, I
Because
I could not stop.
I was not using opiates until after I had my son.
Okay,
So
okay,
it
I
was
understand
always
it.
I was stopping the acid, the coke, the weed, like the drinking and stuff like that. Like I would stop that while I was pregnant. Opiates did not become an issue in my life until after I had my son.
I'm so proud of you for being able to stop using substances when you were pregnant because I
Thank
was
you.
addicted. Shh, no fighting, guys. I was addicted to methamphetamine throughout my whole pregnancy. And I have so much, like, it follows me. I'm 8.5 years sober, and I still feel horrible about that. So I'm really proud of you for being able to do that because it's hard. It's hard. And it's not even about the substances. Like you were still, having the people around you and the lifestyle. Just thank you for being able to do that because your babies deserved for you to be sober while you're pregnant.
And I can't imagine living with that guilt. Like I live with the guilt of like, I stopped breastfeeding my kids because I wanted to start drinking again and doing drugs, you
Hmm.
know? Like, that's the guilt that I live with, and I can't imagine living with the guilt of using substances while I was pregnant. I'm not knocking you for it. It's
Oh,
wonderful
I
that you
know.
can stand here today. Oh, I don't want anyone to think, that that's what I'm
It's a
trying to say,
guilt
but
that will never go away. You never live it down. You know how it is, mom guilt. I mean, I'm sure
mhm,
you have some mom guilt, maybe not about this subject, but maybe like, I don't know, like, I always think, did I do enough for my son? Or was this Christmas good enough? Do I, and it's like a constant, like, thinking that you're not doing a good enough job as a mom. You know what I mean?
mhm,
So,
absolutely. So, like, after I, had my son, um, actually, you know what? I was using opiates before I had him, but I wasn't addicted. Because his father is the one that introduced me. We're out at the bar, fucking nobody really told me stuff, so I'm in the bathroom fucking trying to sniff Molly, and it's not working because you're not supposed to sniff Molly, apparently. Nobody told me that before they gave it to me to go do it. So I'm trying to find my boyfriend. I'm like, "Yo, my nose is wrecked. Like, what the hell?" So he was in the what the fuck do you call it where they cook food? The kitchen. He was in the kitchen of the bar, and I walk in, and he's sniffing a pink substance. And I'm like, "Yo, they just gave me this bullshit I couldn't sniff, and you're in here sniffing something pink? Like, what's that? I want some of that." And that
what
was the
was
first
it?
time it was a Percocet.
Oh, pink. Um, you
A
are
Perc 10,
why
right?
were y'all snorting Percocets? See, I would pop Percocets. I guess people do snort Percocet though. I've
As
never.
long as there wasn't Tylenol in it, we sniffed it.
Okay. Okay. I
I
see.
mean, I did get desperate at some point and sniff stuff with Tylenol and deal with the burn, but burn
That
like a
sucks.
motherfucker. But yeah, no, that was my first time before I got pregnant with him. And like I was telling you the other day, before that, I didn't even know you could crush a pill and sniff it.
Yep.
And I'm glad I didn't know before then because I probably would have started doing it much sooner.
So once you started using opioids, did it like take over? What was your experience like when you
Um,
first started using opioids?
Not right away because I wasn't around it a lot. I was around more cocaine and weed and alcohol and stuff like that. So it was just a every once in a while thing. And then I got pregnant with my son. Um, had him, nursed him for a year, and because he wouldn't take a bottle, I nursed him until he was like 14 months old.
Props to
And
you, honey. I couldn't
he
even do it
wouldn't,
for 3 months.
and he had to get lip tie and tongue tie surgery. Like he would not take. I went to lactation consultants. He would not take a bottle, so I had to keep myself clean
Yeah.
because
That's
I
a lot of
was,
hard work.
yeah.
Like any woman that anybody on here that you have been able to breastfeed your kid for longer than like half a year, 6 months. My hat is off
Or
to you
even just
because
at
that
all.
is no joke.
Yeah, at
It is
all. Just
no joke.
making that choice. Like, it's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard. I'm sure, those 3 months that you were nursing your son, like, it's a lot of fucking pressure on a mother.
Yep.
I
I
remember there's
constantly
times,
felt pressured.
I'm at parties, everyone's fucking doing coke and drinking and stuff like that and getting wrecked, sniffing pills and shit. And I'm like in the bedroom crying because I can't do it with them. And it's like, but I loved my son enough to not transfer that onto him.
Yeah.
To make that conscious decision that I'm going to wait until he can drink from a sippy cup or a bottle or anything like that. So after he stopped, it spiraled. Alcohol was always a problem. I got a DWI shortly after I had my second daughter. Um, Told on myself. Cops pulled me over. I'm like, yeah, I'm drunk. Just arrest me.
Well,
Just
I mean,
arrest
that's
me.
better than to it's better to be honest than to like, fight with them or like resist arrest or whatever, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
And that's
good.
what my lawyer yelled at me afterwards and told me to stop being so honest. Because if I didn't tell them that I was drunk, he could have gotten me off.
Yeah.
Those
Mhm.
charges would have been lowered. But how I was. So I stopped breastfeeding my son, and cocaine came around, pills came around, and then one day the pills just weren't available. So we started getting the Roxy 30s. And I remember the second pill that I went to go sniff, my boyfriend at the time told me, be careful. These aren't just opiates. There's fentanyl in this.
What year was this? What year was this?
Um, 2015.
Okay, because that's when I got sober. So I got sober right when fentanyl came onto the scene, basically. And so
Yeah,
the only fentanyl I've ever done is I sucked it out of a patch. You know what I mean? An old lady had a patch and
the best way
I
to do it. No, I'm
sucked the gel out of it.
kidding. And that's what some people say. They're like, well, they wear them for 12 days. How can you get anything out of it? You can.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You can. Hi, Chuck. Hi,
So you
Precious. I was
guys
just
were
saying.
getting fentanyl pressed pills
Yeah, the
and you
Roxy
didn't know it
30s.
at first.
No, I knew it after the second pill. Those Roxy 30s only lasted about a month until that person didn't have them and started selling us fentanyl. And once again, my boyfriend at the time said, be careful. These are addictive. I don't want you to get addicted. Because, like I said, I was using, but I could put it down and I could go on about my day and not use. I wanted to because I liked using,
Yeah.
but I wasn't experiencing those withdrawals. I wasn't having issues with it. So the first bag I sniffed, I was withdrawing within 2 to 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
And I
That
had seen
sucks.
real fucking quick too. Like I had seen other people go through withdrawals. At this point, I understood it was withdrawals. I just thought
Hmm.
they were sick. Then I started feeling those feelings.
Two to
So
three
it
hours
was,
after using. That sucks. Like, why? Oh, that is. I couldn't do that. Like, I would not be able to. Nuh-uh, man.
And I think it was because like we were sniffing so many Roxy's, like we were going over there 4 or 5 times a day, having garage sales. Fucking, I was doing Instacart with people to get those tips so we could buy bottles of vodka and go get some Coke and go get some pills. And, I couldn't drive, I didn't have my license, but I would go with them and help
Yeah.
because I wanted some of it, So yeah, that fentanyl addiction progressed really quick. Really quick. I would keep it in my phone case. I didn't have a clear phone case. I put something in there. I could keep the bags of fentanyl were flat. I could keep my
And it's
bills
just
and my
like a bag
dollars
of
in it.
powder, right? Because
Yep.
I seriously, I did not use fentanyl, or is it pills?
It's in everything nowadays, but like you get it in pills. But when I was buying fentanyl, it was in a little baggie.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
just in a little baggie, and I'd
I
sniff
have
it.
to show
And
y'all something really fast. Okay, do not
okay.
laugh at me. I have to.
I see you
Look at
looking for
this.
the dog.
You see me? Where's he at? Oh, there he
Yeah, I
is.
was gonna
His
say I
little
don't see him.
face. Look at him.
Yep, right there.
I have to show you. I'm sorry.
He's like, I'm not in my spot anymore, Mom. I moved.
I was getting worried, but he's just chilling under the bed, so that's okay. Okay. I'm so sorry. Okay,
Um,
so
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
respond to somebody real quick though.
Okay.
Kittens, I don't think it's a typical response because, like Nicole just said, she had tried fentanyl before. It didn't happen that way for her. So I don't think that's a typical response nowadays because of how much it is. I think it all just depends on what else you're doing in your life. If
Yeah,
you are
and
using other substances and stuff.
now they have added things like xylazine to the fentanyl supply, and so I know it's a lot more sedating effect now than a couple of years ago, and so also like the fact that they were like snorting so much so frequently might have might have impacted like how long it lasted, or your metabolism might have just been fast, and you might have burned
Yeah.
through it more quicker than somebody else would. But
When
like
I
for me,
explain,
I used Roxy 30, the real Roxy 30s, and so
yeah,
I
so I
could
never
do a
touched
couple
the
of
real one.
Roxys. And I would inject them. I would inject a couple of Roxys, usually like 3 at a time, so that like 90 milligrams of roxycodone, and I would be good for like 5-6 hours before I even started to feel like I wanted to do another one, just because I
Yeah.
wasn't feeling as high. I wouldn't even really. But back then I was so bad on pills, you guys. I wouldn't even let myself get to that point where I would feel sick
Yeah.
because I
'Cause
did
we
not want to
knew.
feel that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as your fentanyl addiction was progressing, what would you say was like what caused you to decide to make a change in your life? Like when did
I
you
just
decide
want
to
to
get sober?
go back to like the pill part.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I think it got so bad because my dad was driving from Connecticut and selling them to me. So we had some
Oh,
sort of relationship. I was seeing my dad once a month. He was coming up and spending the night at my house. And even though it was a shitty relationship, I had developed a relationship with my dad.
so you were like so glad to see him, even though it was a relationship of convenience, like he was bringing
Yeah.
you drugs, girl. That's
Yeah.
fucked up. That
And
pisses me off.
he was on when a couple months before I had my son, he got into a logging accident and got put on perks. And then I just kind of was talking to him one day and told him, I knew people he could sell it to. And he would drive up and he'd sell them to other people, sell them to me, throw me some for selling them and stuff like that. So, yeah, I had a relationship, so I kept it going.
Yeah.
I would break up the perks and mix them in with my Coke, because why not do everything together,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it progressed so bad because I did have a relationship with my father with
And
it.
you were probably like that's kind of, to me, that's like a mind fuck. Okay. So
Hmm.
like
It still is.
my mom and dad, like th- they won't even drink alcohol with me. Like we can. I'm a 41-year-old woman, and my mom's like, "Hey, let's have wine together." You know what I mean? Like, so it makes me sad whenever I hear about family members or parents who use substances with their children. And um, I mean, you could say that about me. I used drugs while I was pregnant with my son, but like I just feel like it's so much different whenever you're like you're older, like you're an adult, he's an adult. Like I don't know. I just feel like he knows better than to do that. He
Yeah.
knows better
Well,
than to be bringing those to you.
I don't think he realized, because for him, it wasn't addiction. He was just using them as prescribed, and he didn't
Pain.
even need.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was using them as prescribed. He didn't even need all of it, but he needed money.
Yeah.
So he never, like, there's times he showed up and I fucking black out, and I don't even, like, he showed up and left, and I don't even remember seeing him because I was blacked out the whole time. I would remember when I came back to it, because I'd have messages in my phone, but there's times I wouldn't even remember seeing him. And nobody in my family ever questioned anything. Nobody ever questioned my drinking, drugs, like they'd show up on my birthday and surprise me and bring me, dinner and cake and stuff like that. And I wouldn't eat any of it because I wasn't expecting them. I'm fucking coked out of my
Were
mind and
they just
drunk.
like so disconnected from what reality was really like to realize that you had a problem, or do you think that they just didn't understand addiction?
They didn't understand addiction. The only thing
Yeah.
my family has is alcoholism in it, and it's the person that has alcoholism in my family. It was to a point where it's quite noticeable.
Yeah.
Straight in the morning drinking, slurring their speech before noon. And I wasn't like that. So
Yeah, you were totally
they were just oblivious of it,
right. Right.
you know?
What when you, what would you say was the worst experience you had when you were using fentanyl? Like, what was the worst time that you can remember? The thing that you feel the worst about doing? Anything that you can think of
Um, like with fentanyl or just in my life in general?
with fentanyl? Tell us about a
Um,
worst experience with fentanyl. Have you ever overdosed on it?
no, I did not overdose. Um, it affected me differently,
You're
like I
so
didn't,
fortunate, girl, because you could die on that shit.
yeah,
It's
I know.
serious. Okay.
I know, and I'm so grateful for being where I am. Like, I didn't overdose. I wasn't the person that was in the room nodding. I was helping the other people that were nodding, and I would try to get to that point.
Did it give
Um,
you energy when you took it?
yes. Yeah.
Okay, okay. See,
I
I
was
was the
up, I was
opposite,
cleaning, I was
girl.
talking, I was getting shit done, like, I was going.
Oh, I was falling asleep with cigarettes in my hand and lighting myself
Yeah.
on fire. Ah!
Yeah, see, like, that's another thing in my mind, like, even though I'm experiencing withdrawals, it's not bad as this person next to me because they're over here
Right.
nodding out, like, their heads in between their legs touching the couch, and we just did the same amount.
Okay,
So,
I
obviously, like,
understand now.
even though I'm experiencing withdrawals, it's not as bad. Hi, Ty. Um,
Hey, Tyree, what are you doing, girl? We love you. I was just talking about you sitting on cakes for old men. I love Ty.
so I think one of my worst experiences, which was the constant thing, was bringing my kids with me to go pick up drugs. And it wasn't just my kids, it was other people's kids. We had a fucking minivan. Load them up. I think that was, and driving too, There's so many times I've had my kids in the car and I don't remember getting home. And mind you, I didn't have my license and I was hanging out with people that had their license. And they'd be like, "Here, Breanna, drive." Not even a second thought in my mind. I would drive because we have to go get it.
Yeah,
And if I'm
yeah.
not driving, then we're not getting there. Everyone else is too fucked up to drive. So I have to do it. So I think that was the worst thing that I've done while high or drunk or anything was put my kids in the vehicle with me.
And a lot of people would think, and when we're in our drug induced mindset, we think, well, at least they're coming with us and they're safe because we don't want to leave them at home with a stranger or somebody else, and we don't think about like what could possibly happen if we got pulled over or we got put in a bad position, and so I could totally understand that. You know what I mean? So don't beat yourself
And
up.
we were
I
like
think we've all made mistakes like that.
we were like the house because where I was living, there was 4 adults, one, two, three, 5 adults, 5 of us that were using. And there's other people that wanted to go out and do stuff that we, would get shit from. They dropped their kids off for like a week at the house and not even come in and check on them. But we were going to get drugs from them because we're watching their kids, and
Oh gosh.
it was just, it blew. Now, even sometimes in the moment, I'm like, yo, like, what the fuck? Like, what are they doing? I always had my kids with me. Um, my turning moment was, even though I had the kids with me and stuff like that, like if I was using, they weren't in the room with me. Every single surface in that home, you could put drugs on and wipe it off. Nothing was porous. We purposely had, we would get rid of the wood furniture and stuff like that. So if we ever wanted to use something, we could, and you could just wipe it off.
Yeah.
But I would go in my room and close the door, or I'd go in the bathroom and close the door, and it's weird. So there was 3 men and 2 women living in the house. The women worked, the men stayed home and hustled and, got money their way. So I was gone a lot. So I came home from work one day. My son had cut himself while I was gone and had asked me for a Band-Aid. And I, no thoughts, handed him the Band-Aid, and he held it up to the light in the bathroom and flicked the corner of the Band-Aid before he
Like a
opened it.
baggie.
Yeah.
Like,
That's what
aren't
got
the
me.
kids the damnedest thing?
But that's what got.
They catch on to everything, girl.
And that's what got
Everything.
me to stop using, though. Because
Damn, that's amazing.
I seen that. Like, I was already thinking about it beforehand because I was getting sick. They weren't buying Coke anymore. They were buying Coke to make crack. And I wouldn't touch it. And I'm like, bitch, like, you're sick. Everyone's begging you. Come on, just come take a hit. Just come take a hit. You'll feel better. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, why are you better than that? Like, you couldn't find fentanyl the other day and you're trying to find heroin, but you won't go in there and smoke some crack with them? And then I seen my son flick that Band-Aid. And about 2 or 3 days later was the last time that I used.
Did you just cold turkey at home?
No.
How did you do it?
So, we'd randomly use Suboxone. There was someone that we knew that would actually trade their Suboxone for cocaine.
Uh-huh.
Because we could get the cocaine and he was on Suboxone. So I knew Suboxone was an option. I had called a friend up one day and I'm like, I need to start going to meetings. Someone I hung out with regularly would bring me to work, pick me up, hang out with me and the kids, take me grocery shopping, stuff like that. Like, had no clue that I was using this stuff. So I told him I wanted to go to a meeting, and that was February 27th of 2020. And I started going to 1 to 2 meetings a day. I avoided my house because there was still 3 adults in the house using fentanyl and smoking crack and, whatever they wanted to do. So I avoided the house as much as possible. One of the first couple meetings that I went to, somebody that was there had spoke to me afterwards, and they told me about this program, an outpatient program, get on Suboxone, because I didn't really know this stuff.
Yeah.
I was absolutely clueless about everything. So he told me, he gave me the number. He said, call this person, leave him a message. They'll call you back. So I did. The guy called me back. He explained to me that what it's called is a bridge script, which gets you through to your appointment. So I went, he told me, I'm going to let the emergency room know that you're coming. We're going to start you off on this dose. And then we'll see you like next week or the week, we'll see you at your appointment. So I went to the emergency room, got my bridge script. I was by myself, drove myself with no license. A couple hours after I left, my mom called me and goes, why was CPS and the cops just here looking for you and your kids? Because I used my mom's address. I'm like, I don't know. She goes, well, apparently you're on drugs. And she had looked up fentanyl. She's like, why are you stealing people's cancer medicine? And, that's fucked up of you, and like gave me a lecture.
How did she find out you were on drugs?
So when I went for my bridge script,
Uh-huh.
apparently they sent out for a welfare check for my kids.
That is so fucked up. Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
I never once had CPS involved while I was using. Nothing. Never had any problems while I was using with CPS. Nothing. I go to get sober and CPS shows up.
So that means a mandated reporter from the hospital fucking told on your ass.
Yep.
That is so fucked up. Like, that shouldn't happen. When you're going to get treatment with Suboxone, there's no reason why that should ever happen. Like, ever. And it still happens to people all the time. Like I've heard so many people share stories where they were on Suboxone, their doctor knew, their OBGYN knew, and they gave birth, and CPS came and took their kid.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
what?
crazy. It's all stuff that they just don't tell you. They're like, "Oh no, it's fine." The hospital never once indicated anything. They had no issue with me being there. There was none of the nurses or the doctor never, acted rude to me, mean, nothing. And then a couple hours later they showed up at my mom's house.
Did CPS
Um,
end up getting involved in y'all's life?
so they did. Thankfully, when my mom had talked to the CPS worker, let her know that they had no idea that I never had any issues with my kids. I wasn't leaving them home alone. Like I wasn't leaving them at my mom's house for, days on end and not calling and stuff like that. So I think she had like this vision of me in my head before she met me. So when I did meet her, she agreed that it was fucked up. She's like, "I'm so sorry that I even have to do this."
Yeah.
She's like, "You're trying to get help. We should not be putting this on your plate." So we came to the agreement because my middle daughter was the only one that was in school. I don't have custody of my oldest. Um, and it's weird because I didn't lose custody of her because of my drug use. I lost custody of her because I didn't have a community. It was just me.
Yeah.
Um, so my mom lived right next to my daughter's school. The CPS worker knew that I did not live there, but we put a plan in place where my daughter would stay at my mom's for the duration of the CPS case. So anytime she showed up, at least one of my kids would be there and she could, lay eyes on them. And she helped a lot. My mom started helping, that CPS worker helped, but it was a lot, just to like get that phone call while I'm
I
trying
am
to get help.
totally anti CPS. I am anti CPS all the way around, no matter. Like, I truly believe that them coming in and taking children away from people who are struggling with substance use disorder, like, I feel like it makes the situation 10 times worse. I feel like there's so much better ways to handle the situation. Like, if a mother is pregnant and addicted, putting her in treatment, like a long term treatment, 6 months or longer, with a baby, so she can be taught how to be a
Yeah,
sober mom, how to change diapers, how to do all the things instead of showing up at the hospital and taking her newborn from her, you know?
yeah. Giving them that tools, like I said, when I was younger, I
Yes,
didn't
the
want to be
tools.
medicated. I wanted those
Yes.
coping mechanisms. And that's the thing too, like women that are on Suboxone or methadone through their pregnancy, I can understand like if they have the baby and there's illicit drugs
Right.
in the baby system or in their system. I get that. But if it's their prescription medicine that a doctor has been supplying them, and, like if they have a baby and they're not prescribed Suboxone and the baby, they have Suboxone in their system, I get that too.
Right.
But if a doctor's prescribing it to them, why? Why are we doing this? It scares people. It scares people from getting sober.
Because they want control.
Yep.
It's what it is. I mean,
Yep.
because I've seen them do it to people who are not even addicts or alcoholics who just have pain management, like a prescription because they have a bad back. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it's like, wow, dude, it's because of they want it's because of this whole war on drugs bullshit that people that the government and is still pushing like it's actually like we're actually helping people by drugs are never going to go away. Like we can't like you
Mhm.
can't get rid of the drugs in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't.
But you can help people, like you said, with the tools and coping skills. So that way they don't want to choose a life of drugs and alcohol. They want to choose a life where they are present and awake and part of their life instead of resulting to going and using substances because they're so depressed or sad or anxious or hurting, you know?
Yeah.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah, and I
It's,
just think it's like, especially because it's understood that if a mother is on Suboxone or methadone and they stop it during pregnancy, that the fetus can die.
yeah. Hmm.
Like that is widely broadly understood. Suboxone and maintenance medicine um, is handled different with pregnant women than it is if you're not pregnant
Yep.
because there is such a risk to the fetus. And the fact that that is broadly understood and they still look down on women. I can't think of the word right now, but they still, crucify them for doing that, for making that choice to have a child instead of kill the child.
Dude, there's fucking treatment centers that will advise pregnant women to get off of their MAT because they don't want you to be on MAT in their rehab because they believe in one way of recovery, which is the mindless, abstinence only brainwashing
Yeah,
of the whole wide world. it,
yeah. And that's why, like,
it makes me mad.
I tried to do the 30 and 30
Uh-huh.
only because I was living with active addicts. You know, I was
Yeah.
working day shifts. I was going to meetings after work. I was getting home late. You know, it's bedtime for my kids. I'd go retreat to my room and stuff like that. COVID, damn COVID, shut that down.
That
But like
sucked.
when I try to explain that to people, like I don't even know what any of the steps are. I was going to the meetings to see that it was possible.
Yeah, for community and
Hearing,
to be
yeah,
around other people that are in recovery, for
yep.
sure.
I wanted to see that it was possible. You know, it was possible to be happy sober because I was fucking miserable. I got CPS on my back, you know, got all this shit going on. I wanted to see that I could be happy. And being around those people that were happy gave me that hope.
Yeah.
And I really do believe that's the only reason I'm still here in recovery is because I was able to experience that without the stigma behind it.
Do you still have like a community of people that you have that, like kind of like, do you still go to maybe like meetings that maybe not, I don't know if you go to AA or NA or like different kind of meetings, but do you still do that to this day or is that something that you kind of like fell off on doing?
I really fell off on doing it because of COVID. Like I would join like some Zoom meetings. I've gone to a couple in-person meetings. When I left my ex, I actually went to a meeting that day and the topic of the meeting was you can't change anyone. You can only change yourself. And
Isn't it
that,
crazy how like we'll get a message and it's like right at the right time when we needed
yeah.
to hear the
And it
message?
was like I found out that he was still using. And he's like, "Well, I'm going to keep using. You can accept it or leave." And I'm like, "All right, I'm going to leave and go to work." And I really went to a meeting and it was you can't change anyone else, you can change yourself. And I think that was the most powerful meeting I've ever been to because that helped me. I reached out to victims advocates. I started, putting a plan in place to get out of away from the drugs and away from the violence that I was living with and to get my kids away from it. I'm like, I got them away from the drugs, but now they're still around the abuse,
Yeah.
and the mental abuse and the physical abuse. Like, get the fuck out, bitch. So yeah, there are times where I feel really compelled to go to meetings. Um, my community is my people. There's some people that I met very early on in my recovery. They've seen me go through all of it. So I know I can pick up the phone and call them. And even though they haven't, some of them haven't struggled with addiction themselves, they've seen me go through it and they can offer advice. And, I have people. I
Yeah.
definitely have people, and I don't have to go to a meeting for it. So,
When I realized that I could stay sober without going to meetings, like I had been taught that if I didn't go to these meetings, then I was going to relapse. And that's what I believed for a really long time.
yeah.
And so when COVID happened, I started doing my own meetings like online. And that is what really
Mhm.
helped me to realize that I could stand on my own and take my power back and that drugs didn't have any control over me. I had been sober long enough to where the thoughts had gone away. I mean, every now and then, do you have a lot of triggers? Like every now and then I'll have a little bit of a trigger sometime, but nothing like out of the ordinary. What about you?
So when COVID hit, I was getting sober. My boyfriend at the time realized that I was able to get sober. He wanted to. So we moved 4 hours away. Moved to the middle of the woods, like middle of the woods, dirt road, barely any cell phone service unless you have internet, stuff like that. So I moved away from my triggers, but I still do, and like you said, it's very random. They're not as strong as they used to be. I am equipped with my tools to kind of deal with them. And because, like I've seen a therapist my whole time in recovery.
Yep,
I
that's
don't only have
important.
I don't only have tools for myself, I have tools to help others. And I think that's the most important thing. Like I have that understanding that it doesn't all fit in a cookie cutter. This issue right here isn't this issue right here. It's from here, and you just got to find your way there and figure it out, and I'm able to help other people, and that helps me.
I think helping people helps me as well. And I had actually
Mhm.
said something about this on TikTok the other day. I was talking about how one of the things that I did take away from the 12 step fellowship was that helping other people, doing service work and getting outside of my own mind, it really helps me when I'm struggling, because a lot of the times I'll get in a mindset where I'm thinking about how I feel sad for myself or I feel bad. And then and going and listening to someone else, like having you on to share your story, or having somebody reach out to me that says, "Hey, Nicole, I'm really struggling. Can I vent to you?" And hearing somebody
Yeah.
else's situation, then it makes me realize, like, and I'm not trying to be funny or anything, but like, damn, I'm really fortunate. Like, I have nothing to be complaining about. I just need to be grateful. You know what I mean? Like, I forget that sometimes about how wonderful it is that I'm not on drugs anymore and that I'm sober. And and those are the things that trigger me sometimes. It's those like little nitpicky feelings,
I think alcohol is my biggest trigger in
Oh,
recovery,
talk to me
is
about alcohol. Yes, I forgot
like
about that. Tell
being
me about
around
your
other
struggle with
people.
alcohol.
Being around other people that are drunk really triggers me, because I've learned in recovery, surrounding myself. I did the same thing when COVID hit. I joined a platform. I was having meetings, I'd sit online for hours and do my makeup or do my nails and talk to
Yeah.
people, you know, like I loved it, but I did get burnt out.
Yep.
But I learned about those genuine connections, and you can have genuine connections because you're not making fucking genuine connections with people you're using with.
No.
There's just somebody to use with. Some people like to use alone, some people like to use in groups. I was a group user, and it's being around people that are drinking and, being sober is hard, because once you start drinking, that's not genuine anymore. They're not, the stuff they say is amplified, and stuff like that. Like it's hard because I'm not on that level anymore,
Alcohol
and
is tough because it's so widely accepted
mhm,
in society. So it's
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody the other day, like they say, drink responsibly. What the fuck is that?
Alcohol is poison.
And they
My
don't tell you, like, are we drinking responsibly, or are we drinking responsibly and making responsible choices afterwards? Like, what does that entail? Growing up, drink responsibly to me was have a DD.
Right, don't drink and drive.
Obviously, I
Yeah.
didn't learn, obviously I didn't learn that because I, would drink and drive. But to me, that's what it was. And it's when I first got sober, I was still seeing my clinic back home, even though I was living out here. And then my counselor told me one day, she was like, listen, we're opening back up. You're going to have to come in for tests. I know you can't come in for tests. So I will, because she knew if I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it, even though I know I have to. She called around. She found me a clinic out here that would prescribe me my Suboxone. She scheduled my appointments. She did all of it. And I still talk to her till this day. She just recently had a baby. If I call her and she can't answer, she'll send me a text. And I haven't seen her since 2020. But she still will pick up the phone or text me back if I need her. You
That's a good
know,
that's a good provider. She was your doctor?
she was my counselor.
Counselor. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Like, it's absolutely amazing to me. Like, I text her when I got off Suboxone and stuff like that. So the first counselor that I had out here, I absolutely despised him. He's like, why are you still drinking? He had that abstinence frame of mind, and he straight up told me, I don't like that people get prescribed stuff here. I don't like it. You guys should not be drinking and not taking Suboxone, and, abstinence is the only way. And I hated that because he used to always get on my ass. Why are you drinking? Why do you feel like you have to have a drink? I'm like, yo, I'm having like one tall boy a day, sometimes two. Like, what's the problem? I need to unwind. Like, I used to do fentanyl. What's the issue? I didn't see an issue with it
Right.
because I was drinking responsibly. I wasn't going anywhere, until I made the choice to do that. Um, I was about a year and a half into recovery, and I was driving to Albany. My brother had just bought a house. We were having a housewarming party. It was Labor Day weekend. My ex wanted to come. He was going to Schenectady too. not thinking anything of it. I was like, sure, you can come with us. He was still drinking a lot. So I didn't have a problem with alcohol. So about halfway on the trip, I popped open a beer. I'm like, I'll be good. Worst decision of my life. So we ended up making it back to my hometown. I was drinking the whole time, throwing them out of the car so we don't get in trouble with open containers in the vehicle and stuff. I got pulled over about a quarter of a mile to my mom's house. And I had my kids in the car. And I got a DWI. And it blows my mind till this day that I did that in recovery, but it doesn't blow my mind that I did it during my active addiction.
Well, I mean, like, some people can have a drink, but like the part where you fucked up was getting in the car and drinking. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like,
Absolutely.
and with me, here's like I choose not to drink. I can have a drink. I could have a drink today and not go smoke crack tomorrow. I could have a drink tomorrow or whatever. But I just choose not to because when I drink, then I get loosey goosey and then maybe my decision making might not be as, great as it could be.
Mhm.
But like when that guy was telling you, like, I don't understand why you need to drink. Like I could relate to what he's saying in the fact that like no, what are we trying to escape from? I have to ask myself like that with food. I became addicted to food when I got sober from drugs and alcohol,
Oh, me too.
and so like I was always using food to relax. And so now that I've like gotten myself into an unhealthy position with my overeating, now I'm having to change my whole life and it's something I could have done at the beginning instead of having to learn the hard way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Hold on. And like at this point, alcohol was not a problem. I could stay home and I could drink responsibly. I could have a couple drinks, leave some beers in the fridge and go to sleep. I worked overnights. I could get off my overnight shift, have, a mixed drink or a couple beers and go to sleep. I wasn't over drinking. It wasn't an everyday thing, and like I'm not trying to justify any of it, but it wasn't an issue until it became an issue.
Right,
And it
right.
opened my eyes.
That's how
That's why
it happens.
yeah. Wasn't an issue until it became an issue, like but it's just, I was like I said, I was a year and a half into my recovery. I'm good. I got this. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna overdo it. I know how to, be responsible, even though I have my kids in the car, I'm being responsible. I'm not gonna overdrink. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. Like, I'm not stupid. I'm in recovery. And I think complacency is the biggest ball on our shoulder in recovery is, oh, well, I have 16 years in recovery. I can, do this. I can do
Forgetting
that.
how bad it was, forgetting
Yeah.
the dumbass shit that we did. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And this DWI or was it whatever it was, it's a reminder. That was a wake up call
Yeah.
because what could have happened was what if something horrible happened and you had an accident, And so that was like God telling you, or I don't know if you believe in God, but I do, but higher power, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
telling
I call
you
it higher
like,
power.
hey, I'm tapping on your shoulder, homegirl, and you need to listen up because this alcohol is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
My best friend, literally, girl, he just celebrated 7 months sober. He was in the hospital for almost 120 days, dead. Okay. He couldn't even get up. He was in a coma
At
from
his 7th
alcohol
month or beforehand?
beforehand. He
Okay.
just celebrated 7 months sober. The reason why he's sober is because he almost died because of alcohol, and he's been drinking since we were kids, And so, like, if you're a person who has a drink every now and then on New Year's Eve or on a special occasion, I'm not talking to you. But if you are finding yourself drinking every day to unwind in the evening times, that's the start. That's how it
Mhm.
starts. And then before you know it, every day in the evening will turn to, well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. at noon.
Going out and meeting people for brunch and stuff like that, and drinking
Yes,
more and more.
it happens so fast it spirals.
And I
you know,
think why alcohol is so widely accepted too, and people don't look at it as a bad thing, is because not everybody has to agree with me saying this, but I think becoming an alcoholic and it taking over your life happens so slowly and it's
oh
so
yeah,
slow,
yeah,
and people don't notice because you can get trashed at your house by yourself and not let anybody see. You can
oh
over
yeah,
drink at your house and stay home, and you can go out with your friends and get blackout drunk and they're just thinking it's a good time. They don't know that you're
exactly.
doing that every single day, and it's so hard because then you don't know who to reach out to help and who's going to, stick their middle finger up to you and be like, no, it's not a fucking problem. Because there
I
are
want to
people.
tell you that just you sharing this is huge to me
I've never.
because a lot of people would be embarrassed or ashamed to talk about it, and talking about it and being honest about it is like it's a big deal because there's so many people who can relate to going through what you've gone through. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that it might not seem like it, but like food for real was my alcohol for 8 years of sobriety. 8 years sober, and I was literally killing myself with food. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Just like if I was drinking a pint of whiskey every night,
yeah.
you
So
know?
I got my DWI. My kids were in the car. My kid's father was also in the passenger seat. Um, my parents came and picked up my kids. Um, their father had to find somebody else to come pick him up because he wasn't going back to my parents' house. They didn't like him. And I was just drinking in the car with him and the kids. They really didn't like him. So I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to say something or not. I'm going to. Jared had asked me the other day because we sat down with Chad Matson, who got behind the wheel drunk and killed somebody. But he remembers everything that happened. I don't remember getting pulled over. Don't remember it.
Yeah, you were probably drunk, blacked out.
I remember sobbing in the back of the police car and seeing my stepfather's face. That's it. I woke up in the police station. I couldn't even, I had no emotion about it. I was mad at myself. I was really mad at myself. My cousin was the officer that did my intake. He knew I was sober. He cheered me on, and he was mad at me too. So,
It's okay, girl. I understand. Like, and I'm sure like you were disappointed in yourself because when you've been sober for a while and then you have a slip, you think like it's like so taught to us that we failed. But I just want to, and I was just talking about this morning. Just because you made a mistake with alcohol doesn't mean that it erases all of the experience and all of the positive things that you did in the
oh yeah,
almost 2 years you were sober before that. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
There's a difference between a lapse and a relapse.
Right.
I had a
I
lapse.
absolutely agree.
I had a lapse. It wasn't a relapse. It was the kick in the ass that I needed. Of course, my family was disappointed in me and stuff like that. And, I had a previous DWI, so I knew how serious it was to get caught with your kids in the car.
Yeah.
And my whole life crumbled until I got lucky. It was a second chance. I did not once lose custody of my kids because of it. Um, hold on.
I'm glad that you didn't lose custody of your kids because of it. You know what I'm saying?
So the only reason I didn't lose custody of my kids is because I was still actively in rehab, even though I had already graduated rehab. I've graduated rehab 3 times in my sobriety. Um, my kid's father was with me, and he also made a decision to let me drive, knowing I was intoxicated. Because he tried to blow in the breathalyzer so he could drive the kids somewhere. And the officer was like, no, I smell alcohol on your breath. It's best we don't do a breathalyzer on you. because then it'll be in the report that you were also under the influence of alcohol, which would have been worse.
Yeah, that would have been because both parents. Because
Yeah.
was he considered the parent of your children? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yep. He's the guard. He's like in the eyes of the courts and stuff. He's seen as a guardian of my daughter, even though he's not her father. He's never adopted her. Her father's never been around. But our son, we do have a son together. So because he made that decision to let me get behind the wheel and drive drunk, he also got in trouble too. He didn't get a
Yeah.
DWI because he wasn't driving, but he also got in trouble as well. CPS got involved. I don't know if it's like this in other states, but if you get a DWI with your kids in the car, CPS gets involved for a year. So he was under the same stipulations I was under. Mine were a little bit stricter because I was the one driving. I got put on drug court. I had to take parenting classes. I had to continue with my rehab and graduate. I had to start mental health. And I did all of it. And I got off in a year like I was supposed to. I did all of it. I never failed a screen. Mind you, I didn't have my license. So if I didn't have a ride when my number got called, because I don't know, I'll explain what drug court is. I wasn't on drug court through criminal court. I was on drug court through CPS. So I didn't have to like go and report in front of the judge and stuff like that. I just had to call a phone number every single day. And if my number came up, I had to go piss in a cup.
Yeah.
So if I couldn't make it there, CPS would bring me. And you know how difficult that was working full time overnight? Full
That would
time
suck.
from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. and then still having to stay up so I can go to drug court, get some sleep, and then get my kids off the bus, take care of them, and then go back to work. Like, it was hard, but I did it because I was given a second chance, and I'm going to do everything right. When I did get off of CPS, they commended me. They seen it change in me. I got off Suboxone during that time. I got my DWI in September. I was already tapering on my Suboxone, and my goal was to go on the Vivitrol shot. I stopped Suboxone in December of 2021. No, 2022. 21. I don't know. December 2021. Because I just celebrated 2 years off of it. Trying to do the math real quick. And I made a lot of huge changes in my life. I started making smarter choices because it was a fucking slap in the face, Nicole.
Yeah, I mean, honestly though, like, I'm glad it happened as early as it did, and not like 7 years down the line. Because I just feel like you're still. I look at like a year and a half, 2 years early recovery. I say it's like being a
Yeah.
newborn baby. You're only a toddler. You're only 2 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so, like, it was a mistake that obviously needed to happen for you to learn from it. Do you drink it? Tell us now. Do you dabble with alcohol still, or are you like, fuck that shit, I'm never touching it again?
The last time, and I really hope my probation officer doesn't see this, but the last time I had a drink, me and Jared went to New York City the beginning of last year, and I got a fancy like lavender drink,
Yeah.
and it was fucking gross. I barely even drank it.
And it was probably expensive as fuck, and you're like, why the fuck did I waste my money on this?
Yeah, our meal was
Same way I felt
$100.
too, girl.
Just one meal was $100 at this place, and I'm like, nah, I'm like they took it off because I took like 2 sips, and I was like, this is gross. Like if I would have got a beer or a shot of whiskey or something like that, like I know now if I ever do go back to having a random drink, it cannot be vodka. It
Stay
cannot
away
be
from
vodka, only because I was drinking a couple bottles of vodka a day while I was using. So
Like,
in my mind, vodka is going to give me that taste of other drugs. Although any alcohol can lead me back down that road. Being mindful enough to know to stay away from vodka, that's me being responsible.
I
Stay
would
away
stay
from
away
all
from
alcohol to
all
begin with.
alcohol.
Yeah,
If I
stay
was
away from
you,
all alcohol to begin
I would
with.
stay away from all of it. And that's for me too, because this last in October I went to Disneyland with my bosses, and
Mhm.
I wanted to drink so bad, and I remember talking about it on my channel, and it was like this huge uproar because I wanted to buy a fancy drink at Disneyland. People were so angry that I even talked about wanting to do it, so I didn't do it. I ended up not doing it. Right. I'm glad I didn't do it, but it's like, I just want people to understand that, like, if you're in recovery, drugs and alcohol don't control you anymore. Like,
Mhm.
you can
You're
choose.
in control.
Yes, I'm in control of my life today. I'm not going to drink a bottle or I'm not going to have a shot of vodka and I'm not going to now, or I'm not going to have a beer and then all of a sudden I'm going to break out in allergies, handcuffs, and go and get fucking methamphetamine. That's not that's not true. That's not how
You
it
just said it
works.
that way. Not gonna have
You know
an
what I mean?
allergy of handcuffs.
But I'm not going to like go out. Pete, we have been taught that we are allergic to drugs and alcohol, and that if we put drugs and alcohol in our body, then we act out. No, that's just because we were using drugs and we chose. These are
Mhm.
choices that we made. I can go on and on talking about all the brainwashing that I feel like we've all experienced over the years, but like now we have the power to make good choices. We are in
And I would
sobriety
love one of
now.
these times, Nicole, to sit down and talk to you about just that. I know it's gonna be a long conversation. It's not something we can get into right now, but I would love to talk about that aspect of it. The 12 steps and the brainwashing and stuff like that and how that changed because a lot of us are working on changing the verbiage and the mindset of other people. So it's becoming, maintenance medicine,
I
you know,
struggle. I still struggle deeply with changing my the way I speak. I try not to say addict, but I slipped and I say addict.
we're
I
human.
try to focus on like the fact that we have power over our choices and we have control over what we do. Like for a long time I believed that drugs were controlling me. No, I chose to use drugs while I was pregnant with my son.
Mhm.
I made that
So are
choice.
you more of a addiction as a choice, not a disease person?
I believe
I'm
addiction
just asking
is
because of the way the
like a
words that you're
mental
saying.
health disorder. I believe that it's a choice that we
No,
make
it's a
when
cigarette.
we use substances in the beginning. We use drugs, okay? And then what I believe happens is that I believe that over time, over using drugs, we become dependent on that drug mentally and physically, and it becomes a lot harder to detach from that unhealthy habit. But I believe that addiction is just uh, a habit that we have developed, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse and worse and worse over time. That's why I say disorder because,
Yep.
oh
Substance
gosh, I
use
know people are gonna get
disorder.
so mad at me, but I just now started really leaning into this more and this mindset. This is all new for me, so I'm still trying to learn. Okay, in the beginning, it's a choice. You choose to pick up drugs and alcohol and put them into
Mhm.
your body. When those substances take a hold, they're so powerful, and the euphoria produced by methamphetamine or fentanyl or alcohol or whatever is so powerful that your brain becomes used to getting that euphoria, used to getting that pleasure and that reward. And so
Yep.
when you don't have it,
And that's what it
you're
is.
in
It's a
pain.
reward system for our brain. It
So
really is.
so taking it away is like really hard to heal from that and to get better from that because you have just like with me right now with food addiction. Okay, it's just the same thing as drug addiction. It's like a reward thing, and so now
Mhm.
it's a huge unhealthy habit that I got myself into that now I'm having to reverse. But for the longest time I believed that basically drugs were controlling me, and that's just not true. Drugs don't have power over me. They can't make me put them in my they need me.
Yep.
Without my actions, drugs are nothing. And so
Mhm.
I'm in between like mental health and choice. I don't really even know, but I just know that addiction sucks, and it's really, really hard. And I know a lot of people struggle with it. But the longer that I stay sober and the longer I stay away from drugs, the more I realize that a lot of the things that happened were just choices that I fucking made.
Yeah. And that's why I said, it's insane. I have been, working lately on, like the way you explained it, even though you said people are probably going to have an issue with it, that's a wonderful way to explain it. So people that don't struggle can understand and stop stigmatizing people that do struggle with drugs and alcohol, and that really is, we don't, I heard a Little Wayne song one day and it just sticks in my head. We all live in the same building, but we have different views,
Yeah, I used to be
and that is a very
diehard.
help way. That is a very helpful way to explain it.
I used to be die hard that addiction was this big bad disease that was taking over me and controlling me. But like I believe that we're taught that because it's a lot easier to control us when we believe that we can't be healed from something. It's a lot easier to keep us all, sedated and on medication for the rest of our lives and in treatment centers for the rest of our lives and in and out of sober livings and in and out of rehab when we believe that we have no control. But we have all I know is that I'm learning to take my power back. And when I learn
Mm-hmm.
more about taking my power back, I'll be able to share that with y'all more. But I don't ever want anybody to feel like I am I just believe addiction is a sickness. It is a sickness that a lot of us struggle with. It's like smoking cigarettes. And I guess that's
Mm-hmm.
if it's a if it's I hate even talking about the disease choice
Well, no, like it even
concept.
too, like I was gonna say before, like we would drive to go pick up our bags and we couldn't find anything in the vehicle, so we'd sniff it out of the bags. I did not scratch that itch until I found a surface to break it out in a line and sniff it because that was my habit. My habit was breaking it out in a line and sniffing it. It didn't matter. I could fucking take a bump off of a card. It did not make me feel better until I did my habit. I did my
Yeah,
ritual.
yeah.
It did not matter. It's everything, you know? And it is like, so when I got off Suboxone, I had an issue. I still have an issue with food. The way my therapist explained it to me is I didn't have that Suboxone every day to control myself. So now I'm
Yeah.
eating food to take that control.
I believe that. Yeah,
It's
and
it's a control in our life. It's all about controlling our feelings, controlling our emotions, our habits, what we're doing, how like everything, you know? It's just a control.
the more I learn about my life and myself is that I am very undisciplined. And
Mhm.
because of that lack of
Likewise.
discipline, I have struggled with so many addictions in my life, not just drug
Yeah.
addiction. And it's because a lack of discipline, a lack of um, self control. And so now I'm trying to teach myself that as a 41-year-old woman, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
which is
all
hard.
about all these habits that I have developed over the years that are so unhealthy, you know?
Yeah,
But anyway, sorry, I don't mean to go off on a tangent.
you're fine.
Can you share with everybody, like, if they're, okay, because I have to go get my little boy from school, so I have to get off here. But I want you to think about it. There's somebody watching right now who is struggling with fentanyl addiction, who's struggling with alcoholism, who is just thinks that they can't get sober. What would you share with that person to help inspire them that they can change their life?
Um, well, first I want to say something that, I picked up from somebody else. I want to tell them that you were loved. No matter how much you don't love yourself, you're loved. Um, and no matter how many bridges you think you've burnt, there's still that bridge to sobriety. You can never, ever burn that bridge. And there's people waiting for you on the other side. There's a community, there's love, there's support, there's happiness. More happiness than you've ever experienced from drugs. It's there. You think you burn those bridges with your family members, they're still there. And all you have to do is just walk across. Just go to the other side and it's never, no matter how much bad you've done, no matter how much shame or guilt or hiding you've tried to do, everyone is accepted. I think it's the one community where you can find people that are going to accept you. So
Absolutely.
it's that bridge is still there. That bridge is still there. Just walk across it.
If you want to, I'll text you after we hang up. But like, if you really want to get into like talking about addiction being a disease or a choice and all the things that I feel like I got fucked on in the treatment industry, I would love to talk about that because,
Yeah, I'm more
oh,
focused like the like 12 steps and the brainwashing and how you like got away from that, because there's a lot, even me and Jared, we're sitting here, we're trying to change, you know, the stigma and stuff like that. Like
I
I
got
haven't,
away from it whenever I was told that I couldn't share in a meeting because I was on Suboxone. And
Yeah,
I
it's
fucking was being sponsored
stupid.
by a lady that was prescribed Xanax for her anxiety attack. And so I was like, how the fuck is this one? How the hell are
Yeah.
y'all going to tell me? My sponsor's got 34 years and she takes Xanax and hydrocodone because she's got a bad back and anxiety. But because she was an alcoholic, that was okay. And so I just, that was
That's
my
just insane to
first,
me.
that was my first inkling of like, I don't belong here. You know what I mean? Like, this is not my deal. So, anyways,
And too, like, even though I've gotten off Suboxone, I still support maintenance medicine.
I
And
love maintenance
Suboxone
medication. It saved
Suboxone
my
does
life.
not, for some people, Suboxone is going to be a long-term medicine. You can take it for long term because it's a harm reduction medicine. It's reducing the harm that you're doing to your body as opposed to illicit drugs. It's not going to not cause anything, no damage to your
Right.
body, but it's a harm reducing medicine.
And you can get off of it if you want to. That's like, I feel like a really
Oh,
important.
absolutely.
I saw a lady on TikTok. She made a video. She'd been on methadone for 14 years and she was complaining because none of the doctors told her that she could have paralyzation of her gastrointestinal uh, system. Girl, that's literally like literally like one of the side effects of being on opioids long term is that it
Yeah.
fucks with your shitter. You can't shit.
Yeah.
Like, we have
I
to
still get,
also,
if I'm constipated, I get so triggered because
yeah,
I'm
we
like, I
also
thought I
have
was
to
done
take
with this.
responsibility as drug addicts and alcoholics, and we have to educate ourselves on things. Like, we can't
Hmm.
blame the Suboxone doctor for not telling us this, that, and the third when we're the ones who are taking the medication and putting it into our bodies. That's another thing that I could go into about people in the recovery community is like a lot of people want to shift blame onto somebody else so badly. And like, I even used to do that in early recovery. And that's where I feel like a lot of my mindset is now that I'm taking my power back because I choose what I do today and nothing else makes those choices for me. And
Hmm.
I'm never going to blame the choices that I made. Like, how stupid did I sound saying meth what made me do it? You know what I mean? Like, when I
Yeah.
think back to a time like that, I think, oh my God, Nicole. But anyway, I really appreciate
But
you
the
for coming
reason
on
you've
here with
changed
me.
that is because you've learned. You've
Yes,
learned and you've grown, and that's the point of recovery is to stay sober and to keep learning and growing. And if that's maintenance medicine or it's Cali sober or it's kratom or if it's complete abstinence, keep doing it and keep coming back.
absolutely.
But I will
We
help if
support
anybody wants to
all
reach out.
pathways
Yep.
here,
If
all
anybody
pathways.
if anybody is interested in tapering on their Suboxone medicine or, want some tips, I only have my story. I'm not a doctor. I do have a lot of tips, tools, and tricks because I tapered from 24 milligrams down to nothing in about 9 months. I had an amazing doctor who supported me and gave me the right tools to do it successfully because that's the only reason you would get off Suboxone or methadone is if you can continue to be successful and stay sober.
Yeah.
And if,
And if you
if anyone wants that
tapering
help with
slow,
it, oh yeah.
great idea. Like, that's
Yeah.
the only way you should do it. Don't ever listen to anybody else if they're telling you, jump off this milligram, jump off that milligram. Don't
Mhm.
listen to
Yep.
them.
You want to continue to be successful and that's the only important thing is that, we're just trying to help other people be successful.
Yeah.
And that's
Will
it.
you send? Will you do me a favor and send me the link to? Oh no, I send me the link to. I want to link your YouTube and the Facebook below this
Mhm.
video. Will you send me those links?
Yeah, it'll probably be easier for Jared to do it because it'll take me 7 hours to
Okay,
remember.
I'll text Jared. You guys make sure y'all go follow Jared and Breanna on the Blacklist podcast. They had my friend Ty on. They had my friend Natalie on. They're gonna have
I
me
was
on.
I was
So
so
they're
happy
amazing.
when Ty said yes. Like she was the first person I reached out to. Like I was so happy and we've built such an amazing relationship with her and it's just I love it. We're all people. We're all
She's
just
good
people.
people and she's real. And
Mhm.
I'm so happy for her making her podcast. But anyway, I'll text you later because I got to go get my little boy from school.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
girl?
likewise. All right. You guys have a good one. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you,
you guys.
Nicole.
Love you guys.
Bye.